What's up guys, my name is ESO and welcome back to the channel. In today's video we're going to be talking about when not only The Elder Scrolls 6 is coming out but also Starfield as well. There was a recent interview with Pete Hines and Eurogamer, and for those of you that don't know, Pete Hines is the head of public relations at Bethesda. But let's take a look at this interview. Eurogamer asked, when should we expect to hear more about Starfield and The Elder Scrolls 6? This is of course the question that everybody has been asking, but this time Pete Hines actually gave a full response. Before, he'd really been avoiding this question and refusing to give any details that may give us a hint as to when the game actually will come out. But now we can finally hear his full response. He said a while from now, and a really long while from now, respectively. Actually, I should not be quite so dismissive of this question, which is to say, the time frame for Bethesda Game Studios titles has not changed at all. What changed was our desire to lay out a roadmap of these titles. Not like, hey, they're going to be putting out a game every 9 months. No, it still takes them years in between projects. But because we're doing something so different on Fallout 76, taking that franchise in such a different direction, doing an online game that doesn't look like something you'd expect from Bethesda Game Studios, we thought it was important to say, hey, new IP, single player sci-fi thing coming, and hey, we're doing The Elder Scrolls 6 after that. So people don't start spinning off on, like that's the end of single player games from Bethesda Game Studios. Time frame wise, it would be about as long as you'd expect when you look at Fallout 3 to Skyrim to Fallout 4 to Fallout 76. It's just going to be those periods of time that hasn't changed, or at least I don't think it will change based on what I know. And in terms of what Pete Hines knows, he's literally the second face people look to after Todd Howard. But the most important thing here is that Pete Hines is confirming here that Bethesda will be following their development cycle for The Elder Scrolls 6 and Starfield. But you're probably wondering, well, ESO, how do I get a release date window from that? Well, if we take a look at Bethesda's release cycle, we firstly have The Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind, which was released on May the 1st, 2002, and it was in development for 4 to 7 years. Then we have The Elder Scrolls 5 Oblivion, and that was released on the 20th of March, 2006. Again, 4 years in development, and so was released 4 years after Morrowind was. Next up we have Fallout 3, which was released on October the 28th in 2008, and was actually in development for 6 years. Then comes The Elder Scrolls Skyrim, which was released on November the 11th, 2011. And again, that was 4 years in development. Then more recently we had Fallout 4, which was released on November 10th, 2015. And that was 7 years in development. But this game was in and out of being a main priority because they also had to make Skyrim at the same time. And now, coming up, we have Fallout 76 coming out on November the 14th, 2018. And that's been 3 to 4 years in development. As you can imagine, a lot of the materials have been taken from Fallout 4 and just added into a multiplayer game. And also there's no NPCs or actual dialogue in the game, so it's taken less time compared to previous games. But my point is, and the reason I've told you that, is that there are basically 3 years in between each major release. And Todd Howard has also said that Starfield actually went into full-time development right after Fallout 4 was released, which means that it's already been in development for 3 years so far. Now, if Bethesda will continue their normal development cycle like Pete Hines said they would, then Starfield should actually release 3 years after Fallout 76 in 2021, because that would make sense according to their development cycle. Now, Todd Howard has also confirmed that Starfield will probably be released on the next console generation, and with both Sony and Microsoft expected to release their new consoles in 2020 or 2021, that doesn't seem that crazy a thought, to be honest. So as soon as you start hearing about those new consoles coming out, you can probably expect Starfield to be one of the flagship releases for the new consoles. But now finally, let's talk about The Elder Scrolls 6, because to be honest, we don't really know what Starfield is, other than a few rumours and leaks that have come out previously, and none of them have been very believable or very reliable. So, The Elder Scrolls 6. Todd Howard has also stated that they just started very early development on it, And given what we now know about Bethesda's development cycle, it's clear that we can expect The Elder Scrolls 6 to release in 2024. Oh, man. That's a long way off. That's 6 years away from now, guys. But my god, a big part of me hopes I'm wrong. But based on what Pete Hines has said here, that it would still be about as long as you'd expect when you look at Fallout 3 to Skyrim to Fallout 4 to Fallout 76. That hasn't changed. So based on that information, 2024 is when The Elder Scrolls 6 will be released. And like I said, I hope I'm wrong. I know a lot of people seem to think that since Bethesda's opening new studios and employing more staff now, surely they would have different studios working on different games and they'd be able to produce games faster. Well, as Pete Hines tells us, this does not mean that they'll be popping out more titles more often. The reason for having more studios actually in this day and age is due to the increased workload of creating a massive open world game in 2019 versus previous years. And I've had a first-hand experience of just how much work and effort it takes to make these open world games now compared to years and years ago, because I've looked around Warhol Studios when they were making Kingdom Come Deliverance, and I know how long it's taken them, how many people were there. It takes a long time. I don't think people realize how much time it takes to make these huge open world game titles. And even when they get released, there's still bugs in them. If we take a step back from the black and white facts here about Starfield being released in 2021 and The Elder Scrolls 6 following in 2024, well, I hope that we'll actually see Starfield a bit earlier in 2019, earlier than expected, since it's actually then been 4 years since Bethesda created a solo roleplay game. I definitely don't think it's impossible to think that considering how big Bethesda Game Studios is today, that they haven't already been working on Starfield alongside Fallout 76. And also guys, just to let you know, if you like the mod list that you see in the background, I have a whole website which has the mod list and also a video on how to install every single mod, and you can find that linked down below in the description. Please do check it out, and if you like what you see, please do support it, because it takes a lot of time and effort to make these mod lists, and I hope you enjoyed it as a background cinematic. But as far as The Elder Scrolls 6, I think it will still be a long way off, guys. And I'm sure, when the next E3 rolls around and the year after the next E3 rolls around, everybody's going to be like, oh, Starfield may be coming out. I guess we'll have to wait and see, but let me know what your thoughts are on this down below in the comment section. I know it's what a lot of you did not want to hear, including, myself, but based on what Pete Hines is saying and based on the facts we have, that's when it's going to come out. But to be honest, a part of me, wants to believe otherwise, and a part of me says, well, Bethesda have lied to you before saying that they're not working on Fallout, and then the same year they've released Fallout 4. So it could happen, and I think they kind of want people to stop drawing attention to The Elder Scrolls 6 and Starfield, and instead focus on their new game coming out, Fallout 76. Because what's interesting about this is, if you look at articles online, anything with The Elder Scrolls 6 in seems to actually receive more attention than anything to do with Fallout 76. Which is a very interesting observation. Now, if you guys are very interested in The Elder Scrolls 6, check out my other video I made on it, where I talk about where I think it's actually going to be based, because there was actually a recent trademark leak, and you guys might be interested in that. I'll link it down below at the top of the description, so you can find out more about it, because that's still very relevant. But guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for your support, and I will see you in the next one. Have a fantastic day, and goodbye.